Harry, Mary, Hector, Hannah, Moll, Kate, Powell, Tyrone, Tom, Hannah, Paul, and Jacob. Johannes Lott's probated will listed 12 enslaved persons living on the farm in 1798. In the early 18th century, more enslaved persons lived in Brooklyn than anywhere outside of South Carolina.
When we've been exploring and investigating the house, we stumbled upon a hidden attic space. And looking beneath the floorboards, we found ritual objects that, through research, we've learned were placed by enslaved persons. We have a spirit cache. The spirit cache was a pouch tied with hemp string associated with the pelvis of a sheep or a goat and an oyster shell, also adjacent to a very crudely put together handmade child shoe. We also find beneath the floorboards corn cobs that were placed in the shape of a cross or an X, and this is a symbol that is reminiscent of the Bakongo cosmogram, which is a West African religious symbol, all placed beneath the floorboards just inside the doorway of this attic, an attic space where you could only open or lock the door from the outside.
In 1799, New York passed a Gradual Emancipation Act that freed enslaved children born after July 4th. African male children must work another 25 years and girls another 28. The Lotts would have been considered progressive in Flatlands. The 1800 census lists all 12 laborers living on the farm as free people of color.
Over the years, we've spoken to many descendants from the family, and many of them have told us the same story about the bedroom on the second floor that has a closet within a closet. These are relatives who had never met one another. This was the closet where they hid runaway slaves on the Underground Railroad. It was a hiding spot. It was word of mouth, trails, safe houses that you could go to stay at. When you take some of the circumstantial evidence into play, the fact that the family, when Hendrick inherited the dozen slaves from his father in circa 1800, that he frees them all, they stayed on as paid labor. The location of the house, right off a body of water, which was right by the Atlantic and right nearby a main road that would shoot straight north up through Brooklyn on a direct route pretty much to Weeksville, which was a freed African-American community. You start to have a sense that perhaps this story might have some grain or some semblance of truth to it. The house today is an official stop on New York State's Underground Railroad Heritage Tourism Trail. So we have a full-rounded story, the varied experience of African Americans on the Lott property and in this part of southern Brooklyn, or what would become Brooklyn, from enslavement right down to the days when they're freed. There was a man named Peter Saddam, an African-American man who worked on the property with his wife Mary. The last known documented evidence we have of him is a letter referencing him for the New York colored troops during the Civil War. But what we do know about his family is that after that period, in the next census records, they've all moved back to the Lott House. And they stay here until they become of age, and then they move out and disperse elsewhere throughout New York City.